No. Hi, I'm Stephen Downs. You just caught me eating some lunch here. Okay, I'll put this to the side for now. But I'm going to record what I had for lunch. So let's pop into my browser here. See if I can't find it somewhere. We'll just go into full screen, I guess. Where is my browser? Oh, there we go. Google. No, I don't want to go there. I got too many things to do here. I wish I had something that made this easier for me. But, oh well. So, okay, let's start the screen share. And, of course, the infinite regress as usual. And what am I going to do? So I'm going to record my lunch here. So this is, and I'm holding it up now, the remains of one bell pepper. So let's see, bell pepper, yellow, in fact, and one large, yes it was. Add it to lunch, adding the food to food tracker. Do not need a nutrition report just now. And so I'll add that to my lunch. I also had, let's see, it's tuna, cloverleaf flaked light tuna. So let's add that here. Cloverleaf flaked light tuna, lemon and pepper. Oh, dill and lemon, sorry. It doesn't seem to be in the list. Oh, that's annoying. Lemon and pepper is. Dill and lemon is not. So, I guess I'll have to add it. Okay. So, enter food not listed. Name your new food. Cloverleaf. Flaked light tuna. And dill and lemon. So that way anyone who comes after me will be able to find this because it'll be in the list. So one serving, so what is that? One serving is how many grams? 85 grams. I don't like the unit one serving because it's so arbitrary, right? So I'm looking at the side of the can now to see what's in a can of cloverleaf lake tuna. So let's see. Pretty hard to read. Calories 140. It's good stuff though. Total fat 7 grams. Saturated fat 1 gram. Trans fat, no grams. Cholesterol, 45 milligrams. Sodium, the bane of my life, 330 milligrams. That's a lot of salt. Potassium, no. Carb, glycerides, where's that? Fiber, 0. Sugar, 0. Protein, 18 grams. Triglycerides, 2 grams. And vitamins, 0%. Vitamin C, 8%. Prevent me from getting scurvy. Iron, 6%. And that's her. So let's add that. Save food. And I'll add that to lunch. And never show this again. And there we go. And let's see, I also had an orange. So I'll add an orange. Oranges, quantity 1, 2 5/8 diameter. Yeah, it's about what it was. Add food to tracker. I told you, never show this again. All right, and so there's my lunch, right? 303 calories, 41 somethings carbs, fat 8. It's very healthy lunch. Added to the 4 grams of fat that I had breakfast, doing pretty good. Coffee, food, protein, 23 grams, so a bit more protein for lunch. That's because it's tuna, right? And fiber 8. So I've got targets down here, right? Daily goals. These daily goals are based on my, see if I can make this a bit bigger. Nope. Some of these pages just deny being made bigger or defy being made bigger. So I've got targets here. My goal for calories is somewhere between 1880 and 2300. Carbs, 212 to 362, so I'm about halfway. Fat, I'm less than halfway. Protein, I'm a little bit less than halfway. And fiber, I'm more than halfway. Like I say, it's a good lunch. Haven't burned any calories today. I would report that elsewhere. Where would I report that? Well, I'd report that in Runkeeper. So here's Runkeeper. This is the fitness feed, and this I can make bigger. So I can see some friends of mine have completed activities. I see Alexander Hayes has a new personal record for cycling activities. So that's very nice. Runkeeper keeps track of my stuff too. So I've done a lot of cycling. So here's an activity I just did just this past weekend. First time out on the bike around the house in my new home in Castleman. So you can see the route that I took. See, I've had to be walking and spinning. There's the cycling I did when I was in San Diego. Walking and spinning all the way up to now. So just a short little 27-kilometer ride, not too much hills, pretty easy on the speed, just nice, comfortable speed. And so, and this burned 1426 calories. And I would take this and I would put it back into Spark People to report my exercise, or I could do something else. So what am I up to here? Well, I'm using these tools, right? I'm looking for my player again. Here we go. I'm using these tools as a form of personal tracking. I'm using these tools as a type of assistant. And the internet is full of them, as I'm sure you know. There's Fitbit and all kinds of things that actually use devices, plug them in, can monitor your progress. And these tools, of course, are available not just on the web, but they're also available on the phone. And that's what I'm up to, right? So this is all really, in my mind, part of something generic that we can call personal learning assistance. And I know that running and Fitbitting and things like that don't sound like personal learning assistance, but the concept behind them is. And it's this concept that we're interested in. So let's move over to the other screen here. And let's see now if I can just play this, make it big, slideshow. Yeah, there we go. So here's the idea. There's this little video. So we'll try to play it here in the screen.
A company built on the belief that there is an elephant in the classroom. It's called assessment. Why? Because spending on education has been growing rapidly in modern times. yet increases in attainment, a true measure of impact, have been at best flat. Where there has been investment in technology, it has largely been on curriculum content. Where it has been spent on assessment, it hasn't been to improve assessment, but instead to entrench existing practice. So you have systems to run multiple choice quizzes, but no true innovation in assessment itself. The reality is, until we start to assess the qualities that we aspire our learners to have in the global knowledge economy, qualities such as creativity, collaboration, we won't see those skills developed in the classroom. In the words of President Obama, don't fatten the pig by weighing it. The formative assessed product we present today is about harnessing artificial intelligence to provide timely feedback to students about their learning and open up their thinking. It's about nourishing young minds to grow. A busy teacher has 30 young minds to manage, and with exam pressure and league tables, the constant temptation is to close down thinking in order to jump through assessment hoops. Our formative assessed robot is a personal learning companion designed to open up thinking. By integrating the bots and APIs into the formative assessed product, we believe we can really bring the duck to life, to allow the duck to talk out loud, and more importantly, for the students to talk, not to type to the duck. This is a massive opportunity for digital assessment across the globe. We estimate in excess of $3 billion the disruptor that does to examinations what Uber has done to the taxi rank. And there are strong indicators that the time is right. We are at a turning point in education. Digital assessment technologies to transform learning are the future.
Goodbye. So I searched around quite a bit online, and I didn't actually find these guys. So I don't think it actually exists yet. But the concept is interesting enough, right? The concept is that you'll have your own personal assistant. There's a guy called Neil Stevenson who came up with the idea a number of years ago. So here he is. Let's see if I can't type it in. Let's see, now I'm just trying to remember what it was called. It was a girl's guide. It was from, or the Young Ladies Illustrated Primer. It was in a book called The Diamond Age. And the idea of the Diamond Age, the book primer. Oh, go away, Amazon! Why do they do that? Isn't that so annoying when they do that, right? Because I'm trying to do something and it wants to stop me and make me do something else. So anyhow, the idea of the Diamond Age again was that you would have this device, maybe this big, maybe a bit bigger, and on it you would have all of your applications and your tools and etc. And so I could use this, and it would speak to you, and you could speak to it, and you could open up applications like Sparkle or Spark People, and it would tell me all kinds of. See, again, it's telling me to do something else, so I could monitor my food intake, etc. We're not quite there yet, but maybe this is more than just a vision. Maybe this is more than pie in the sky. The concept of the personal learning assistant has been talked about, at least in academic literature. And here's a report from Tom Mitchell, Rich Karuna, Diane Freitag, and John McDermott, giving an overview of a personal learning assistant. And they identified three major tasks. Accept them or not. The first is to provide a convenient interface that allows the user to perform the task. This is kind of important, because if you do the task somewhere else, none of the rest of the stuff works. So you need to actually provide the interface to perform the task. Then secondly, the system uses each user interaction as a training example of the user habits. So if I have the same thing for breakfast every day, the system should begin to recognize that I have the same thing for breakfast every day. And I should begin to do things to help support that, or maybe gently, very gently, not little stupid, annoying pop-ups, correct that. And then, and that's the third part, right? Learn general regularities from this training data. Now, right now, where we're at is still pretty much all manual input. You saw with the Spark people, right? I had to actually type in the stuff, type in the food that I ate, even create a new food for the system. That's really handy because when I created a new food for the system, now that new food will be shared with everybody else. So I'm the only one using Spark people who will have to type that information in. It's kind of like crowdsourcing your product information. Brilliant, right? So, okay, that's a pretty neat idea. Well, here's an idea that takes it even a step further. It's something called Volley. And again, it doesn't really exist yet. Apparently, it's only open in pre-alpha. But the idea is you point your phone's camera at a piece of homework or a textbook page or whatever, and it pops up resources about key facts or tricky parts, etc., and links to other classes or study guides or resources that could help. So the hard bit is the camera technology, right? But that already exists. That exists as in a Google Translate tool. I can use my phone. I point my phone at a sign, and it will translate the sign into English with, I will report, indifferent success. But it does do that. So this is a personal learning assistant. And, if we think about these widely enough, the personal learning assistant already exist in things like business. There's an awful lot of workflow stuff and business process support stuff. You can put them into Excel spreadsheets, or SAP or whatever. We'll create workflow agents, etc. So this is a reference to a paper. Personal learning assistant agents in the business process domain. He identifies, by Brian Blake, he identifies 5 attributes or affordances of a business-oriented personal learning assistant. First, human learning profiles, of course. And if you have these from multiple people, you can begin to create these profiles across demographics. Hopefully useful demographics and not stupid demographics based on people's skin color, which is ridiculous. Second, integration of operations and training databases. Third, unbiased evaluation of performance. Fourth, developing enterprise learning profiles and patterns. That's really useful if you're rolling out new equipment or a new product or something like that. If you have a personal learning assistant agent, you can see how people are beginning to learn about and use your new product. And then training in multiple modalities, and I would point out as well, obtaining training from multiple providers and multiple sources, different training for different people, right? That's the idea. The image here is from a site called Bench Prep. It's basically preparation for professional certification courses. For example, this is a project management certification course. And really it's, study, practice, try out some games, things like that, set knowledge goals, increase what you know, and prepare basically for the test. It's kind of a memorization tool, so, but there's still some usefulness there, right? So the United States organization called Advanced Distributed Learning launched an initiative. It's 3 or 4 years ago now, and I'm not really sure how much it exists anymore. But a lot of the pieces exist. And it was called Personal Assistant for Learning, or PAL. That's why we had to call ours Personal Learning Assistant, so that we would not confuse what we were doing with what they were doing. So there's basically many of the same components as the personal learning assistants we've already looked at. So we have the LRMI for learning resources. So these are the actual things that you use to study. Open badges, which offer certificates or recognition of the stuff that you have learned. The Experience API, which I'll talk about in a second, to record your actual learning activities. And then the Learning Registry. And this is the place where we share what we know with other people. So it forms a nice closed loop there. So this is altogether their training and working architecture, and you can see the major aspects of it, right? Experience tracking, learner profile, competency networks, and content brokering. And there's no place you actually begin here. All of these things are actually operating in parallel. So you're accessing content, tracking your experience, keeping up your profile, just like Spark people, just like Runkeeper, except in this case, we're training for new work or new jobs. And that leads us to the Experience API. The idea of the Experience API is that we're not just collecting the learning that happens in the learning management system. Learning can happen anywhere. And the difficulty, though, is if the learning does not happen in the learning management system, how do we know it happened? It's kind of a philosophical question, right? So what the Experience API is a mechanism whereby any application can record a learning activity, and it records it in the form of subject, verb, object, like Mary read Peter Pan, for example. And it records these learning activities, and then it stores them in what is called a learning, well, an LRS, learning record store. So that's basically the model. And I've forgotten, okay, I'm not sharing. So let's have a slightly deeper look now at the Experience API stuff. I had it here, and I've lost it because that's me. Yeah, here we go. So here we are again. So this is from one of the ADL slides presentations. So again, you see the major components of the personal learning assistant: the learning profile, the competency networks, experience tracking, and content brokering. These things are what is required altogether. And so now the personal learning assistant, or PAL program, is intended to allow or encourage the creation of software to enable what they call pervasive learning. I don't think I like the word pervasive. I do like the word ubiquitous. It's always available. Here's the overall architecture. And there's a lot of stuff here, or it looks like there's a lot of stuff here, but really it's not that complicated, right? So we have the front end where there's authoring of different kinds of learning resources, then the different kinds of resources themselves: podcasts, virtual environments, perceptual learning modules, etc. And then there's the user interfaces such as applications, input, output devices, and sensors. Okay, great. Now in the back end is where we keep all the data related to this, competencies and topics, learning objects, metadata related to learning objects, so it makes it easier to find, and a learner profile, or as we call them, a personal learning record. It also provides services such as recommendations, workflows, context awareness, and naturally personalization. This all connects to a network of external resources, an Outlook calendar, for example, social networks, maps, and so on. So, as you can see, it provides basically an overall framework for learning. And then they want to take this and put this into a large virtual environment that runs in a web browser. Or they want to put it in virtual games and collect learning activity records from these virtual games. Here's an example of how to query the learning records store. Here's another way of querying the learner records store. Here's a way of animating the plant example, etc. So the personal learning record takes this concept of an e-learning tool that a personal learning assistant takes this concept of an e-learning tool and simply presents stuff to you a step further. It really requires the use by the person of the systems and tools, and it requires some mechanism for feedback, or not feedback, but content creation, to say it very broadly, to input, to do activities, which would create activity records, to put in information like foods eaten, weight gained, etc., to add original content, descriptions of experience, messages with other people, all of that, because it's all of that your personal assistant for learning or your personal learning assistant will learn from in order to make better recommendations and to help configure its workflow to better adapt to your day-to-day activity. So that's the idea. I'm going to check now very briefly before we go, because we're at almost half an hour. Half an hour went like that, didn't it? Well, it did for me anyways. I don't know about you, but it did for me. I'm going to take a quick look into the NRCPL tag in Twitter. So let's have a look here. And okay, so see, forgot it's Tuesday today. I know, I forgot it's Tuesday today too. We had Monday off as well. So yeah, such is life, and there are other things. There are other things in Twitter, not too much, because it really does feel like Monday for everyone. Vanessa Vale, and I saw this, there was some discussion of looking for French MOOCs. Here's the fun MOOC, and I might as well point you all to, let's see now. There we go. So here's the French MOOC that we ran here in NRC with the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie a couple of years ago on open educational resources. So we're pretty pleased with that, and it was a good collaboration, and we're going to do it again. So that will be nice. So what else have we got here? PLE, open learning. Oh, that looks interesting. Let's have a look at that. And multiliteratus incognitus. But you notice his name's on it, so not really that incognitus. So PLE, the learner, open learning, and academia. So we have some criticisms etc. So what are PLEs? If you take, for instance, the use case of one learner, E, the PLE is a system of components held loosely together by the interconnections of those components. Okay. The one thing I don't necessarily agree with is that the PLE is positioned as a rival to the LMS. We see a screenshot from this week's presentation at NRC01PL indicating some criticism of the LMS, which I assume is meant to be juxtaposed against the PLE. And he continues later on, I do think that an LMS and a PLE can be used concurrently and effectively within a class environment. The matter at hand is more a matter of design and implementation rather than pitting one technology against another, or perhaps worse, pitting ideologies, open versus proprietary, against one another. So that's a pretty good point. And maybe we'll wrap up the short discussion of that because it's come up here as well, here being the offices at NRC. The PLE does not necessarily replace the LMS. But the PLE does address some significant shortcomings in the LMS. And we saw the shortcomings in the slide above. The teachers with all the rights, the controlled cohorts, the dependence on prepared courses, the limited communication capabilities that you have, and the lack of design freedom. And all of those are really good criticisms of an LMS. Doesn't mean we toss the LMS baby out with the bathwater. But we want a method to enable these freedoms on the part of learners, and that's what the PLE does. So you have the PLE. The LMS can still be used to store content. Why not? You're not going to put all your content in the PLE. Put your content in the LMS and then connect them. So the LMS connects to the PLE. And so the LMS can connect to many, many different individual PLEs. The PLE, meanwhile, can connect to many, many different LMSs. No problem. And that way you get this network of LMSs and PLEs. But here's what has to happen to make that work. The LMS has to allow for the connection. PLE will. We know that. We're building it, so it's going to. The LMS, on the other hand, won't necessarily allow this. And that's where you get this conflict between open and proprietary, right? You can't really have this halfway point between open and closed, right? If it's closed, you can't share in an open network. So there has to be a mechanism. With Open edX, what we've discovered is that we can use LTI, which is Learning Technologies Interoperability, or Learning Tools Interoperability. And so we use LPSS, and it connects to Open edX, and it launches the Open edX content in an LTI window. The LTI window remains basically in the ownership of Open edX, but it sends us information back from Open edX about what happened in that interaction. And that's the way it needs to work. So no, we don't get rid of the LMS, but the LMS, instead of now being this thing that controls everything, now the LMS is this thing that delivers learning through the auspices of Learning Tools Interoperability so that it can be launched by other systems and receive the information from the LMS in other systems. It's a good point, though, and it's exactly the sort of discussion that we had here last week, because it's a fairly common misconception that PLE replaces LMS. Oh, PLE is for the students, LMS is for the college, university, or school. Makes perfect sense. Okay, so that's going to cover it for today. I'll put up this in the Open edX website in a bit, and of course it'll be in your newsletter. I'll have more content on personal learning assistance and related topics tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. We'll have the weekend hangout, kind of an abbreviated week, but we'll build on some of the stuff that we've been doing. And then next week, the ultimate week of the course, we'll show you what we're up to with the next generation personal learning environment that we're building. It's not quite ready for prime time yet. So we haven't integrated all of the stuff that we've put in LPSS.me into it, but you'll be able to see the different look and feel and overall approach that we've adopted for the new tool. So that's it. I'm Stephen Downs, and I'm going to finish my pepper now. Talk to you later.